Transnet workers are vowing not to return to work until their demands are met. They have rejected the latest offer of up to 5%, calling it an insult. Workers are demanding a salary hike between 12 and 13%. Let's get the latest now from our reporter in Cape Town, Nobesuthu Hejana. Good afternoon, Nobesuthu. So workers are unrelenting. What are they saying this hour?
Well, Mfundo, they did mention earlier on that they will continue with their strike until their demands are met. But just to look into the different perspective of the impact of that particular strike in the business sector, especially here in the Western Cape, I'm joined by Jacques Moolman just to talk about how this has impacted some of the business or the business industry in the Western Cape. Jacques, how bad are things looking, especially with the Transnet strike since last week?
It is particularly devastating for the Western Cape economy, considering that, as a country we're losing 8 billion rand a day, and 15% of that comes through the port of Cape Town, so it's R1 billion a day. And this in a time when our economy needs to employ people and not the opposite way. And sadly, this is going to result in job losses.
And you were also telling me that there's a recent report that has been released about the terminals that have been closed now. What does that mean for those businesses that solely rely on exporting and importing products, not only to South Africa, but also to the Western Cape or Cape Town?
There's not much option. So what I do know is that some of the ships that were supposed to come around Cape Town or dock at Cape Town is now being diverted to Namibia. And it means there's additional transport costs and duties, that affects. But it also means that those people in Cape Town that rely on merchandise either being delivered or being picked up for export is, there's, once again, job losses. And there's really not much of an alternative.
And let's look at some of the businesses that are impacted by this. If we look at the whole spectrum within the Western Cape.
Mostly fruit, deciduous fruit and perishable goods is most probably impacted firstly because those products only last that long. And then the wine industry, but it affects not only larger businesses. It's the small guys, the small businesses out there that relies on products to be able to get to them and to sell it on the street. That's also being affected. So the rollout of this negative impact is absolutely huge and devastating.
Yeah, and not a lot that can be done by those who can't really afford to pay for those extra costs that you're talking about. But let's look at how maybe this can be resolved. Not saying that, the Business Chamber of Commerce has a role to play in those negotiations, but should this continue further, what are we possibly looking at?
Oh, very difficult to answer. From a chamber point of view, we've been working with the Ports Authority. We've got a forum with many ideas. I must say that Western Cape Province and the City of Cape Town have been really pushing very hard to make sure that the Port of Cape Town is working the way it should. So there is many experts with many ideas out there of what should be done and how it could be done. The unfortunate thing is at the moment it falls on deaf ears.
All right, thank you very much, Jacques. Well, Mfundo, that was Jacques Moolman, who is the current president of the Cape Chamber of Commerce here in the Western Cape, just talking about the impact of this particular strike that it has had on the businesses. We do understand it started last week and those negotiations are ongoing. We also heard from Transnet yesterday that they are hoping that the current negotiations will result to positive results, as this has severely impacted the maritime services here in the Western Cape, especially with those 3 ports in the province in Mossel Bay, Saldanha, as well as Cape Town.
Hopefully it will be speedily resolved. Thank you very much for that update. That's a reporter, Nobesuthu Hejana. Now,